happy to welcome back Matt Halliday. He is the president and CEO of Canada Silver Cobalt Works. Let me tell you a little bit about Matt before he joins us and gives us a presentation and an update on all that his team has been up to. Matt graduated from Dalhousie back in 2007. He majored in earth scientists. He spent the next 13 years in exploration as a resource geologist. He's with Kirkland Lake, First Cobalt, and SGS Geostat. He's a member of the PGO and is a qualified person for exploration and resource development. Definitely a passionate dude. We love having him on here. He really knows that cobalt camp inside and out, and he's really focused on developing world-class projects in the silver and, of course, the battery metal space. Matt, welcome back to the Global Mining Symposium. There he is. Wonderful to see you. How have things been going for you?
Oh, things are going very well. It's wonderful to be here. I'm actually right in Coleman right now. So I'm just about 5 minutes from the town of Cobalt. I'm at my core shack.
Excellent. You know, when you've joined us in the past, I believe if memory serves correct, last time you joined us, I think you were in London, but I like it, London, England, which is where we're going to be in November for the Canadian Mining Symposium. And I believe you're joining us there. I'm very excited about that. But I do like it when you're in the Cobalt camp. So that's where you are today. And tell us everything that you guys have been up to. I'm going to pass the mic over to you, and we'll watch attentively.
Okay, well, let's start in the town of Cobalt. We have our TTL facility, that's Temiskaming Testing and Laboratories. It's a subsidiary of Canada Silver Cobalt, and we announced recently that it is fully commissioned. So, we're ready to process samples through TTL, and we have basically the grinding circuit is up and running, and the bullion furnace is operational. A new gravity circuit has been installed, and we can run about 24 tons per day through the gravity circuit. And what we are planning to do is produce some cobalt material through SGS Lakefield in Peterborough for evaluation for EV clients. So somewhat recently, we've met in Toronto with some Korean companies at a conference there, and it was very encouraging to see that. We're also looking at other potential buyers for cobalt sulfate in the future. Again, we have the Re2Ox process that we are continuing to develop through SGS Lakefield. So we're really excited that the TTL facility is up and running, and that we have some material, and that it is basically one of the first steps for us to be able to open up the cobalt mining camp. I'd like to talk a little briefly about Nafta and the Inflation Reduction Act today. I think it's a little bit important right now for Ontario to understand that, under Nafta, a lot of these new EV automobiles are, need to be produced in North America, particularly the core components, to get all of the Nafta credit. And so there's a lot of activity here in Ontario. I'm very excited. There's some new plants being built, particularly one in Windsor. And what the IRA, or the Inflation Reduction Act, tries to do is it tries to complement NAFTA, where it really wants to see the minerals being extracted from North America. It also wants to see the minerals being processed in North America. And there's a pretty aggressive timeline on that. And so one of the things that is really exciting for Canada Silver Cobalt is being able to move forward to eventually become a producer of cobalt sulfate, nickel sulfate, copper sulfate, and be both a producer in the future of these raw materials and of these refined products. So we're working diligently to get the Re2Ox process up and running, and eventually scoping out a place to have a production plant, or and in the midterm having a pilot plant that would be a commercialized pilot plant. And we're looking for spec sheets and making sure that we can supply the proper product for industry. I'd like to move on to the EB Auto property. We have the EB Auto Gold property where we this summer have been doing some trenching, stripping, and channel sampling. And hopefully we'll be getting some of those samples out to the lab in the short term. And we do have some geophysics that was accomplished earlier this year, and we're really designing a really good drill program for the EB Auto coming up next month. So we'll be drilling EB Auto next month. We're really excited about this prospect. We believe that we have a lot of interesting showings. We have a lot of interesting criteria here, including the EB Auto fault, a large alteration window, the right disseminated sulfide packages. And so, as we're doing early exploration, we also want to do some more drilling and advance this project nicely. And also on the battery metal side, we've had a lot of talk about the Graal. It was an excellent it's an excellent project. We drilled the Graal this summer. Again, we're getting those assays out. And we've done a lot of work on our copper, nickel, cobalt properties throughout this summer. So Lac Edouard, we did some geophysics with a VTEM survey. Lac Edouard is next door to Rio Tinto, and we believe it has a lot of potential. We've also investigated the Grand Portage project. We've done some sampling and prospecting. We have a nickel showing with a magnetic anomaly there. We've done prospecting and sampling at the LPM, and there's a big boogie anomaly there, and we're really happy to get rocks from the ground. The Boudria property, we have a nickel showing and a magnetic anomaly there, so we did some prospecting and sampling there. And at the B30 shear, again, we have a nice nickel showing and a magnetic anomaly, and we've done more prospecting and sampling there. So we are advancing this. I think that nickel, copper, and cobalt are extremely important for the electrification of basically the energy sector. And, as a lot of people know, that they've been increasing the nickel content in a lot of these batteries. And these properties tie in with the Re2Ox quite nicely, where we want to produce a nickel sulfate as well. The last thing I'd like to talk about today is the Graal. Of course, the Graal, where we have been drilling and getting some excellent results on our copper, nickel, cobalt project there, basically has a technical report that was produced this summer on some of the drilling. And it is the intent of the company to produce a spin out, which we'll place the Graal into. We'll provide a share and potentially a warrant to our current shareholders. And we would like to have this new company, Koniagis Battery Metals, up and running by the end of this year. So we believe that a fresh management team and dedicated resources to the Graal property will provide shareholder value for Canada Silver Cobalt and the new company. And I guess on a closing note, I will talk about the Castle Silver. The Castle Silver project is going through, again, transformation. We are getting ourselves ready for that ramp, and we're taking the steps that are necessary to be able to envision this ramp. So, we're continuing on with the data collection for environmental baseline, particularly the water sampling, making sure that we have the proper data to inform the next steps in the permitting process, as well as in the engineering process. We're continuing to investigate the Castle adit for an eventual bulk sample. So, what we want to do is go back into the Castle adit in the future, take a bulk sample from the Castle adit, be able to produce that cobalt sulfate from the cobalt mining camp, and show to the world that the cobalt mining camp has what it takes to become a conflict-free center of cobalt sulfate, as well as a place that can produce high-grade silver. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Matt. Excellent. So much going on. You guys are, I don't know when you find time to sleep out there. We have one
Yeah.
already from the audience from Ernie Blair. Will you continue to hold a good portion of the spin out after it has been completed?
Canada Silver Cobalt will hold a portion, I believe, of the spin out. But the shareholders, I believe, will get a direct share and potentially a warrant in the new spin out.
Okay. Great. You've ended up there talking about Castle. That's been one you've been updating us on as we go along. Now it's high grade but narrow veins. Can you talk about the challenges that might present for mining and actually pulling the metal out of the ground, and what you guys are thinking about in terms of mining approaches around that?
Well, I mean, one of the reasons why we want to get the ramp down is that traditionally this camp has been visual mined. So these veins do pinch and swell, and they do turn and twist a bit. So by the time we get that ramp down there on a defined portion of the deposit, so we want to basically limit ourselves to a high grade portion of the deposit and take that bulk sample. And then we will continue from exploration underground. I think that the exploration from the underground is what's really going to open up this deposit rapidly and cheaply. We will be able to drill basically horizontal fan sections and really get an understanding of where these veins are moving and get an indication of where the grade is located. Basically, when we look at the Castle mine had about 2 kilometers of vein material on the first level, but they basically only mined about 600 meters of it. And so because, not all of the vein is necessarily the highest grade. And so we need to understand basically from an underground position where we can go next. And then when it comes down to actually the mining of it, dilution shouldn't be a major issue because of the ultra high grade nature of the vein. So, with proper gravity separation and potentially ore sorting, we'll only need to move a very limited amount of rock. Again, these are already very, very high grade. So it's not a large scale rock moving exercise. There's very limited tonnage per ounce of silver.
Excellent. Matt, I mean, we're talking about Castle. You mentioned EB Auto. We started off talking about the TTL facility. For investors, we want to make this as easy for them as possible. So I want to go back to the beginning with the facility. How does that TTL facility, how does that fit into your overall corporate strategy? And take us through where you see it going forward. What are the next steps for it? Is it going to get expanded?
Okay, so the TCL facility, it's a wonderful high-grade silver facility that was actually developed by the Ontario government back in the day. And when the Ontario government built something, they built it right. This facility was the Cadillac of facilities at its time. So basically, we've refurbished it. And when we are basically going down to the castle and we want to take that bulk sample of silver, this facility will be able to process that silver and pour rough doré bars. And then we can send those rough doré bars over to the refiner, like a Johnson Matthey or whoever, and get ourselves into a cash flow position. So the facility is critical in terms of this project and being able to open up this project. Not only that, but I mean, it's a centralized location in the cobalt mining camp. And we basically want to be able to open up the cobalt mining camp and get multiple deposits in the future and process material from all around the cobalt mining camp. And so I think that having a centralized milling operation is extremely important to the company. And having it up and running now, it's able to do bulk samples, it's able to do work for potentially other clients, and it's able to start being self-sufficient in the short term until we're ready for it at the castle.
Excellent. I think that's critical, right? And I think that's a competitive advantage. And something compelling about your investment thesis here is about moving those future cash flows for, closer to the present, right? And having that TTL facility that lets you actually get in this environment gives you a clear line of sight to actually processing and generating cash flow. I think is critical. Excellent. Thank you, Matt, so much for joining us and updating us. Congrats on all the progress. It's been amazing to see how much you guys have been getting done out there. So keep it rolling, and we'll look forward to getting the next update from you in the near future.
Thank you very much. You have a great day.
Excellent.